folks, and welcome to Typology, the show in which we explore the mystery of the human personality through the lens of the Enneagram. I'm Anthony Skinner, will be the producer of the show ever live Typology podcast recording at Balboa Theater in San Diego on March 21st, 2020, and tickets are on sale now. Tickets went on sale yesterday. Hey, there's a limited number of tickets available, so head on over to typologypodcast.com. That's TYPOLOGY podcast.com for details, and we'll see you soon in San Diego. All right, of course, we continue our amazing lineup of guests with the amazing Amanda Lindsay Cook. Amanda is a Dove Award winner, a Covenant Award winner. Her latest release is House on a Hill, and it is amazing, and she is amazing, and she is actually a really good friend, and you are in store for something special. She is an Enneagram 5, and as I stated last week, she has done her work and beautifully wrapped her words around her experience as a 5, so you are in for a treat. So in part 2 of our 2-part series with Amanda, we'll pick up where Amanda and Ian are talking about what it's like as an Enneagram 5 to be present with yourself, present with your emotions, present with your current feelings. So let's get into part 2 of our 2-part series with Amanda Lindsay Cook and your host, Ian Cron.
For years and years, I stored up emotion and I did not know how to express it except through music. And even in my family, my family they feel things deeply and they cry a lot easier than I do. And I remember my dad, even when I was a kid, being like, you can let it out. You can let it out what you feel. And I did not know how to, like in my body. I knew how. The only place I really found that kind of home was in music, was in playing it, was in piano. But I think over the last couple years, all those kind of guards just kind of came down a bit, and I started to it's still a practice to decide to let the waves of emotion actually happen, because I think I get afraid that I'll be swept away by them or I'll drown there, rather than letting it like wash and cleanse and heal. And we can only really heal what we're willing to feel anyways, so
say that again.
We can only heal what we're willing to feel.
Can you say that again?
We can only heal what we're willing to feel.
That's an amazing statement. You're a 5 on the Enneagram. I think that's a revelation you had at some point based on a season of brokenness, because we've been kind of, you mentioned it a while back, but we've been sort of touching on it again and again. So you went through a profoundly, deeply painful year. It sounds like it had something to do with the dissolution of a relationship. And this eruption in your life was some kind of a bright, glad abyss where it took you apart. Yeah. And
it's like
you've had some
darkness.
Incredible learnings in the midst of it. And one of them is you can't heal what you don't feel. Now, that's an amazing piece of wisdom for a 5 to give to the world. Thank you.
I think that grief was probably the launching pad. I feel like grief is a gift, but it's a grip, and it won't let you go until you feel what needs to heal. And that part of it, I mean, it's just kind of, I feel like that thought has led me over the last couple of years, because a lot of things crashed down with my marriage. It was a lot of perceptions. It was a lot of how things should be or should have been, or did I miss the memo? Did I miss, how life was supposed to be laid out? It threw me into infinite possibility, which was terrifying and also really healing at the same time.
I just can highlight that because you said something else. The grief is a gift, but it's a grip until. Yeah. That's pretty powerful.
I mean, there's another saying of like, the truth will set you free, but it'll piss you off first.
That's right.
And I feel like those two things are very true, because they're friends. Like grief is a friend, but I think it's a perceived threat to like an idea of happiness that we have, that I can't be happy and grieving at the same time, that I don't have a cavern that's actually like able to hold joy and sorrow. And that's part of the, I feel afraid of, I think probably deep sadness the most, because I'm prone to melancholy, and I'm, moved by rainy days, but I have a hard time dwelling there because I feel like I might just never emerge. That so baptism might be complete. She might not come back out of the water.
There's that four-wing making its presence powerfully
absolutely
known, right?
Yeah.
So I have a writer who I always loved was John O'Donohue.
I love him.
Isn't he great? So O'Donohue, when cancer would visit a friend or something like that, or grief or depression, he would say to them, he would encourage them to turn toward it and to say, so, brother or sister grief, why have you chosen this moment to visit me?
Yeah.
Isn't that lovely?
Yeah.
Why have you chosen this moment to visit me? And I think it's a very Five way to respond, but I also think it's a beautiful way for any of us to respond, so that we can step back. And this is where being a Five is a good thing, right? It's the ability to step back and not find yourself too much at the locus of the problem, but to step back and go, so, grief, why in this moment of my life have you chosen to visit me?
Yeah.
Nice, right?
Yeah.
It's a powerful question. One of the guesses people make about Fives, and perhaps because Fives report certain experiences, early experiences that contributed to the construction of this personality style, is...
I like that.
Right?
Construction of this personality style. I like that.
Yeah, so there's perception, real or imagined, that they did not connect early on with caregivers, right? And so what happens is this thirst for knowledge then starts to come from the belief, if only I'd known what mom, dad, coach, all these, if only I'd known what they wanted.
Wow.
I could have conformed to their vision of me and received their love.
This just explains so much of my existence.
So really, it's not just knowledge that Fives want. It's foreknowledge. They want to know. The search for knowledge is a way of like, how can I gain knowledge in advance that I might connect with other people? Yeah. But they don't. In a way, the thing that they're doing is the very thing that prohibits the possibility of the connection. Does that?
Yeah, that rings so true.
Why? Why does that ring true?
I think, I can apply it to a lot of community, I would say. I can apply that to, I'm not going to say, I'll say the church at large, I'll say spirituality, I'll say religion, different institutions of thinking, of perceiving, of expressing. I would say that I tend to do exactly what you just described. I'm doing a really bad job of describing it right now, but I'm applying that right now in my mind to so many different instances. I had a conversation with my best friend about this very thing about a week ago. Interesting. Where I felt very childlike, and I was like, will we still be friends if? Right. Those kinds of things. Yeah, foreknowledge. Because there are things that crop up where I'm like, I feel like I've been wearing what people expected of me. And even if we dive into music a little bit, music always felt like the great liberator to me. It was permission to express, to feel, to make sense of the world, and it was very, I'd say most art has a bit of narcissism in it, but kind of needs to, because the person's vulnerability needs to stay intact, and we're writing to try to heal ourselves, I think, a lot of the time. So it's an attempt, and within music I ended up writing spiritual songs because it's so it's always been a part of the picture for me. The quest for God, the pilgrimage that we're on to try to make sense of our world and our meaning and purpose, and within that, like I've always struggled with genres. This is probably a very Five thing to say as well. I've always struggled with genres. I understand that frameworks are helpful for people to understand context. It gives people a framework to go, okay, this is what I'm coming into. This is what I'm prepared to see. But I think probably it's a lot like being typecast, how you do one thing and then people come to expect you to do that exact same thing over and over again, which is why I think artists are really courageous when they reinvent themselves, no matter what the cost is. Because the cost might be that your last fan base don't like what you do. They don't like what you're saying anymore. They don't like what you represent because they are maybe still invested in your last piece of work, which is fine. I think there's something ageless and timeless about that.
Yep.
That's the hope with, I think, the vocation of artistry, is that it would meet people wherever. It's the public service. It would meet people exactly in that moment when it's needed.
Yeah, so I always think about we don't know Bob Dylan because it's all speculation, but many people I know and respect would say Dylan's a 4. Others that I know and respect would say he's a 5. But what you just now made me realize is maybe he's a 5 because, Dylan just reinvented himself constantly.
Yeah.
And it was like, I don't care what anybody thinks, actually. So there wasn't this sort of like, I'm being swept. It was almost a very 5-ish response. It's like, no, I'm transgressing.
Yeah.
I'm always artistically transgressing. And when you were speaking, I was thinking about the artist Georges Braque, who said, art is a wound turned into light.
Wow.
That was good.
Wow.
Yeah.
Is it Leonard Cohen who said, ring the bells that still can ring? Forget your perfect offering. There's a crack in everything. That is how the light gets in.
Yeah. Shall we close in prayer?
Yeah. And so, amen.
Well,
Meditation
we're not gonna,
to follow.
I want to go someplace with this because it's a perfect segue into something. Hey everybody, we'll be back to our guest in just a moment, but first I want to thank our sponsor, Hemp Fusion. Hey Anthony.
Yes.
Do you know I have arthritis in my hands from writing and typing?
I do.
And did you know I've added CBD to my daily routine to help reduce inflammation?
I did.
That's right, man. And I use Hemp Fusion. Unlike other brands who just offer CBD, Hemp Fusion combines CBD plus omegas, plus terpenes, plus other natural ingredients to help your body absorb CBD better. Hemp Fusion is available at natural product retailers near you and online. And for our typology listeners, Anthony.
Tell us, Ian.
They'll get 20% off their first order and free shipping anywhere in the U.S. at hempfusion.com. All they have to do is enter their promo code typology. Again, that's hempfusion.com and the promo code typology. Back to our guest. So, House on a Hill. I was listening to House on a Hill this morning, your record, which, by the way, has one of the most 5 covers I have ever seen.
Right? If it could have just been the blank slate with nothing on it, I think I would have been like, there it is.
Every 5 wants to make the White Album.
It's infinite possibility. There it is.
Every 5 wants to make the White Album. I mean, it's sort of like there you
That's
are
amazing.
on a white background.
Yeah, in my
complete white.
invisibility cloak.
In your invisibility cloak with just your walking figure in the center, right?
Yeah.
Then there's a record before that, Evergreen, where you're tossing through the air, like sort of somersaulting against a white background.
Right, yeah.
Which to me sort of felt like the Five's defense mechanism of this feeling of isolation and emptiness. Right?
Yeah.
So there's a great Buddhist teacher. I can't remember. It was Songyong Rinpoche, whose name I've got all wrong there, but that's very, very famous teacher. And he once showed a group of people a picture of a bird on a white background. And he said, "What is this a picture of?" And they said, "It's a bird." He said, "No, it's negative space. In which a bird appears, but it's a picture of negative space."
Wow, that's so good. That's so good.
And so, what was so interesting looking at that cover, I was like, it's you but it's a picture of negative space in which you appear, but it's not a picture of you in negative space.
Where were you when the album came out? I could have really use this. Dear God. That's exactly it. Yeah.
And that's a very 5 sort of way of being in the world.
Yeah.
Yeah, and where isolation is a defense mechanism. This withdrawing into isolation, even while you're with people. So I want to talk about the lyric to House on a Hill. I know that it's a beautiful, subtle conversation between yourself and God. But as I was reading it, knowing that I was going to interview a 5 today, and I was reading it, I loved the lyric. I want you to hear me read this lyric as though you're speaking it to another person, not to God. Is this what was going on in this song?
No, I just want to hear this. Let's do this.
Okay. So the opening stanza, right? It's quiet. In this house upon a hill, you won't mind it. Some things you can't know till you're still. In the silence where your spinning thoughts slow down, in the stillness, things have a way of working out. So obviously in this house upon a hill, I don't want to project too much information onto this to make my case that you're a 5 or whatever. But, when I hear house upon a hill, I do think about the 5s with retreat into what we call the castle of the mind.
Man, yeah, that's
right?
it. Yeah.
But I was imagining you actually as though speaking to a lover, another person.
Wow.
And then you get to this section, allow me to introduce myself again. I'm the one that you knew before time began. I've been waiting for you to let me be your friend. Everything you ever need is everything I am. I am, I am, I am. How does my twisting the lyric into it being both about a conversation between God and you, but also the possibility that it's a conversation between you and a friend, a lover, a husband, whatever, a partner? How does that, is that something that is accidentally, unconsciously in the lyric, or am I reading too much into it? Hey everybody, with my busy travel schedule, I don't always have time to sit down and open up a book or read the newspaper, so I use Audible daily. Audible is a leading provider of premium audio information and entertainment on the internet. I listen to Audible when I'm out walking through an airport, driving my car, or just doing my daily workout. With free access to the New York Times, Wall Street Journal, and the Washington Post, I'm always up to date on current events. Audible content includes an unmatched selection of audiobooks and other audio products. In fact, you can even learn more about the Enneagram on Audible by listening to Beatrice Chestnut's audio of The Complete Enneagram, Helen Palmer's The Enneagram, or even The Road Back to You by yours truly. So, I encourage you to start listening today with a 30-day trial and choose one audiobook plus 2 Audible originals for free. Just visit audible.com/typology or text typology to 500-500 to get started today. Again, that's audible.com, audible.com/typology, TYPOLOGY, or text typology, TYPOLOGY to 500-500 to get started with Amazing Audible today.
No, I don't think you're reading too much into it at all. This is one of the reasons why I love music, is because by the time it reaches us as a listener, it's meant to serve us as a protagonist. So it is whatever we want it to be. Interpretation matters. I love hearing it in both ways. I really, really do. I think great art has multiple meanings. So I think that when we write, I love when we stumble into something that has at least 2 or 3 different ways, even for me. But here's something I feel like I've been thinking about a lot lately too, is just the mystery of an artist being being tucked into a song that then becomes whatever it is the listener wants it to be.
Or needs it to be.
Rather than song stories. I think we were talking, a couple of friends were talking about song stories the other day where we're kind of all tired of them because it feels like we're still, no, by the time the music is released, it becomes someone else's. It's not mine anymore. It's ours. It's whatever you want it to be. And when I still continue to show up imposing what it should be for you, that's just my narcissism, I guess, at work, making it about me. It's not about me at that point. It really served me. I feel lucky that I get to be part of a song as it's being born, as it's showing up into the world. But by the time it reaches other people's ears, it's meant to be yours. It's meant to, all of us have those songs that we grabbed onto and we're like, oh, this was written directly for me. And if I hear the story behind it, often it punctures the experience I had with it. It's like, wait a second, no, but that's not my experience with it, you know? Right. That's why I love the mystery being intact of, you know, respectfully going, this song is yours. I love sharing stories with friends around a table about, you know, certain songs and where they come from. But for the most part, I don't want to create something where people get stuck thinking about me when they're listening to the song. Absolutely. That to me would be counterintuitive. Yeah.
So you've used the word mystery about 36 times.
Right, yes.
And so I have a question for you. Are you a mystic?
Who decides that?
Well, how about you?
Would I liken myself to it? Or maybe I gravitate towards that. I gravitate towards mystics and I gravitate towards mystical language for sure.
I only ask that because I know so many fives who are mystics.
I mean, I would hope to be, but I don't feel old enough. I don't feel like I have enough life experience to be qualified as or defined by something like that.
Yeah, but I'm just curious.
But I would like to be.
Yeah, so but why? Why? You know, there are other types that I could imagine, but in many ways, like, you know, fives would make the most natural mystics. They'd make the most natural Zen priests. You know what I mean? Or Zen Buddhists. They would make the most natural Christian mystics. Why? Why is that about mystery and fives and their love for the transcendent, for making contact with it, for dwelling in it? You know, for people who are so heady, I think we tend to think of mystics as being ecstatically enraptured, you know, which feels very emotional, you know,
right?
Which we don't normally emotionality we don't associate with fives. So what is this sort of attraction to the mystical?
I would say it feels like a gravitational pull more than anything.
I mean, is mystery tantalizing to the five?
Yeah, I think to be like I think Rohr puts it. We're not called to the unsearchable mystery of God, but the endless searchable mystery of God. I think that's what the gravitational pull is, to be drawn into the endless searchable. So searching something out is
it's the one topic you cannot fully get to the bottom of.
It's a final frontier, and it's ecstatic. Like, I feel ecstatic about discovery, but I mostly feel ecstatic about not being able to master something, but study something, and that there's no end to it. That gives me life. That's part of what gets me out of bed, I think, in the morning, is the idea of I can chip away at this every day and learn something and take hold of something and watch something and witness something and be, you know, overwhelmed by something in the best way. There's, like, you know, two ways of looking at that, but that it's not, I discover enough to finally master something, which actually sounds counterintuitive, I think, to 5 minutes, but I don't think it is. I think it's just that that endless discovery, it's the actual joy of discovery that I'm in, that I'm here for that. It's not that I want to know everything that is to be known about something. That's just impossible. That's not, you know, pick any subject. We only know really what we know about it until we know more. And even then, it runs through our current of, you know, thinking, being, whatever our filters are, whatever our upbringing is, our nature, nurture, personalities, everything. Like, the idea of knowing something or someone is it's exciting, and there is no end to it, So I think discovery is probably yeah.
So thinking as a 5, so through the lens of the Enneagram, what will you do differently in a future relationship, in a next relationship? Hey everybody, one of the lessons I've learned over the years is that not everybody benefits from a traditional 50-minute counseling session. And this is why some people can go to couples therapy or personal counseling for a long time and never really get anywhere. This is why I'm such a believer of intensive counseling and my friends at Restoring the Soul in Colorado, created by my longtime friend Michael Cusick to help couples or individuals experience deep change in half-day blocks over 1 or 2 weeks. Now listen, if you can't wait months or years to get to the bottom of an issue or to experience breakthrough, you need to get in touch with my friend Michael and his extraordinary team of counselors at Restoring the Soul. If you're looking to get out of the rut you're in, but can't wait months or years, call Restoring the Soul today for a free consultation with Michael's staff. Call 303-932-9777 and learn how their intensive counseling process can help you. As a special bonus, just for Typology listeners, make sure to visit www.restoringthesoul.com/typology to download their PDF called 5 Ways Unaddressed Trauma May Be Derailing Your Relationships. So through the lens of the Enneagram, thinking as a 5, what will you do differently in a future relationship, in a next relationship?
Oh, geez. Whew. Well, I don't feel like I can project into that space real quick because my anxiety really wants to project into that space really quietly. So if I just go into more the peaceful place, I would say I'm more interested in healing all of my relationships. So my relationship to God, to the world, to my body, to my mind, to my soul, to every human. Like, I would hope that I meet somebody on the journey of that who is interested in that as well and is doing his own internal work. Because I think that's all of us have that path of doing our own internal work of healing. And so I think I can't get too far ahead in that. I feel like I'm just actually gloriously pretty like here right now, thinking about what is the crux of this moment, because we're patterned people. We tend to, there's a wounded child in us that wants to heal itself, so it'll keep recreating the same things over and over again to try to get a different outcome. Yes. And we can look back at patterns and trends in our lives of how we treat relationships or people, and I'm like, oh, I don't want to recreate the same pattern within me. With people, I would really love to be able to do 1 degree shift for a long period of time that hopefully brings life transformation. So, yeah.
We're all recovering children, aren't we?
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And so I love what you were just saying. And it was interesting how you compartmentalized some things. You were like, I want to make repairs in my relationship with God, with others, with myself. And of course, we would all do that to an extent. But when a 5 does it, I always go, huh.
Yeah.
But that's what you're describing in my sort of language would be shalom, right? Which is we live in a world of rupture. And so we experience a ruptured relationship psychologically, emotionally, socially, spiritually, ecologically, at every level there's rupture, right? And shalom is that movement from rupture to healing and wholeness in those things.
Wow.
Right? And so I think that's a beautiful goal, which is to say I'm looking for shalom, or wanting to move or to facilitate shalom in each of these ruptured areas of my life. And I love that you're saying, and I want to stay in this present moment to do that. And if I go too far out, like maybe a 6 would, or even I might, which is like I've been burned in this thing.
Yeah.
And so I'm now wanting to get foreknowledge of what I'm going to do next.
Yeah.
Differently.
Yeah.
And I love that you just said, I just want to stay in the present moment and deal with the things that are right here.
Yeah. There's both of these things are very true. When you describe that, I'm like, that's what my anxious self would do, is try to get enough foreknowledge to like, okay, this is where we're headed. But when I actually take a breath and go into that space of essence and peace, it's very much like, no, I want to be here today and let today happen, because it's all I have. It's all we have. And I want to discover whatever I'm meant to discover today, so that it leads into whatever's next. But that all feels like mystery. When I start to get anxious about it and future trip my way into it, usually it has to do with trying to heal, trying to, recreate something so that I can change the ending of it. But the practice of being present is a lot more, is actually a lot more healing than that one.
So, I don't know why this question is coming to my mind, but I'll throw it out there. Where are you on the journey toward becoming your own friend?
Man. Nobody's ever asked me that or put it that way before. Ooh. I would say slowly but surely. Slowly but surely.
That sounds very hopeful to me.
Yes. Yeah. As with everything else that I do, it's slow, but I would say there's a sure thing about it that I forget, but it's always there. Just like the shimmering presence of isness, and that's God. So I think it's a slowly but surely kind of thing.
Do you hear all this language at the Mystic?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
It is everywhere.
You may not be a mystic, but you're mystical.
Yeah, man.
That's the thing. I'm like, that would be like winning a Grammy to me, as being called a mystic. Right. I'm like, that's it. Where do I give my speech?
If you had a 3-wing, you'd be looking for both.
Where do I give my speech? But I think that's why I'm like, who decides? Does somebody decide? Right. Is there a mystic gathering that I've been missing out on all these years?
Is there a conference?
Is there a conference that I go to? Do they hand out like?
Where do I apply?
I've been to all the others.
Do they hand out diplomas? Like, do you just wake up one day and decide, you know what, I'm a mystic now? I'm like, yes. I feel like it's something that's bestowed upon someone with reverence, well, it is. Not necessarily like take it.
Right. So in a way, it is. So there's many sort of understandings of the word mystic. It's one of those terms that's evasive, right? Because every time you go to define it, it's like mercury. You go to put your finger on it, and it kind of like splats out and goes, yeah, you didn't quite nail it yet. Right. It's something, oftentimes I'm like, well, I don't know how to define what a mystic is, but I know one when I see one. Does that, good. You know what I mean?
That's so good.
Very much so, yeah.
And so when I think of a mystic, there's a couple of different ways. I mean, there's sort of an academic understanding, which would be a mystic, like say a mystical experience is something that comes to you unbidden. An experience of the presence of God, a powerful experience of the presence of God that comes to you out of the blue almost. It's like it's a gift that just comes and you're like, oh my gosh, where has this come from? It's also something that when you go to try and explain it to somebody else, you have no language that can capture it.
Yeah.
Which is why maybe artists are the best in ways, because they can only describe it sideways.
Yeah. Yep.
And in that language of art, it's like it's sort of the best way to explain it, because it doesn't. You're not trying to do it out of your rational mind.
Yeah.
Because the rational mind is like completely befuddled by the experience.
Yes.
Right? But I also think it's this knowledge of like what Ignatius of Loyola said about it. It is the ability to see God, and it is the madness. He says.
Wow.
It is the madness of seeing God in all things.
Wow. I just need you to narrate my life. from here on out.
But it is a kind of madness. Right?
Why am I here? I just want to listen to you tell me, make sense of everything for me.
Hang around long enough and you'll realize what a fool's errand that would be.
That's so good. That's amazing. That is it. That's
well, you're amazing.
Oh, well, thank you.
I have here's the thing, and I said this to John Mark Comer the other day, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, we were talking about what are we grateful for? It's Thanksgiving season, and I try every morning to wake up, and when I walk or get out of bed, I immediately, it's like one of my first things I do, and I don't write it down or journal. I just begin as part of my own journey to say thank you for things, to be grateful for things. And one of the things that struck me, we had an early morning interview with John Mark the other day. He was a one. And the first thing that came to my mind is, it is such a gift. You walked in here, I don't know you. And we sit in front of microphones. We listen to a piece of choral music. What people may not know about typology is we really don't come in with I don't come in with a list of questions like, this is where things are going. I've been on podcasts like that where it's like, sometimes they send me the questions in advance. And I'm a little bit like, that's too bad. I always like to kind of roll the dice and see where it's going to go, because you don't know.
Yeah.
You just don't know. And this is one of those conversations where I just leave with a certain grateful feeling in the center of my chest that was like, wow, what a delightful, beautiful human encounter this was today.
Aw.
Yeah.
I feel the same way.
Yeah, and I feel like I understand fives in a way now that have given me 2 or 3% increased clarity.
And empathy.
And appreciation.
Yeah, appreciation is the word.
For your contribution to the human community. We've spoken about so many things that are need to be true for all types, right? They're universal truths about living in the present, about hearing the voice that says "stay," with the experience of this moment, which is something you alluded to earlier, I just feel enlarged by the whole conversation today. Isn't that lovely?
It is. Thank you for being with us.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah.
What a great thing. House on a Hill came out in March, right? So it's a new release.
Yeah, newish. It feels kind of, it was in a vault for about a year. So I feel like it's been out longer than it has, but yeah.
That's like books.
Yeah.
Right. They've been sitting there for a while and you're like, okay, let's get excited about it.
I know. Yeah.
Right? It's like, okay, let's get excited. I was already thinking about something else, but now we got to go work this pony. Let's go ride this pony at the birthday party until it drops.
That is it.
Let's exhaust the pony until it can go no further. Will you come back?
I would love to.
Yeah, we need to do a panel of fives again.
Yeah, that was a good one.
I love it when we get all these types into a space. So everybody, please go out and buy Amanda Cook's House on a Hill. Listen to the heart and the mind of a five and their way of being in the world, and listen to a mystic. Somebody who occupies that space, and it is so reflective of the gift that fives bring to us. And, dear friends, remember the words of the great Oscar Wilde. Be yourself. Everybody else is already taken. See you next time.